Hello and welcome to my show. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with me, but hello loves. Today's video is going to be a cozy, chill reading wrap up for the books that I ended up reading this week. We'll also do a little bit of a book haul, and I will give a general wrap up of how the entire month went, specifically regarding Blackathon. These are all of the books that I ended up reading in the previous videos. I have 3 reading vlogs, one for literary fiction, horror, and thriller mystery. Then I have one that focused on romance, and then last week we focused on fantasy and sci-fi, and then this week I kind of just finished out fantasy and did a little bit of literary fiction as well. And I have thoughts. So first I'm going to go over the 3.5 books that I ended up reading. First off, I did finish The Undertakers. We started this in last week's video. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I enjoyed the first one. It wasn't a favorite, but I did have a fun time, and I really do hope that this series continues because I love the characters. I love how cozy and magical everything feels. We have these 2 characters who basically work on helping people escape from unsavory circumstances, get them out of slavery, let them be free, and then they also help solve mysteries. Both of the books are mystery based, even though that's kind of an element that's weaved in, and I loved it. Like, seriously. Next up, I believe I ended up reading Flowers for the Sea by Zin E. Rocklin, and this is a novella, and it is about, it's how do I describe this novella? We have a group of people on sea, and we are hearing from one of the women who is pregnant, and it's important that she's pregnant because others before her, they haven't been able to have their babies successfully, and so the fact that she's so far along is a big deal. There's some other things happening. It's very lyrical. I did not enjoy it. I think most of that had to do with the pregnancy aspect, which is unfair, because I have never been pregnant. I don't understand it. I have preconceived notions. I know that there's a lot of different experiences that people have. I just didn't enjoy this one. So that was kind of a bummer. There were some cool things that happened, but overall, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. Let's just say that. Which is then interesting because the next book that I read was She Would Be King, which was one of the Blackathon group picks. And I think this was a little bit more literary fiction, but fantastical might be the right way to say it because there is this magical element. I was confused. I had a hard time actually being interested in any of the characters. It was a heavy on the slave narrative, which was just very upsetting, and I didn't want to be there. At first, we had a character who was outcast from their village, but their village was actually a group of owned slaves on a plantation, and then I was confused how they were able to outcast somebody if they were all property. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't know why it was called She Would Be King, because then we were being like one of the main characters. 2 of the main characters were men. I don't know. It was a lot going on. I can see that it would be a book for other people. I'm not saying it's a bad book. It just definitely isn't my cup of tea. It was really hard for me to get into, and I really was not in the mood to read a slave narrative. Like, I'm not there. I have read several slave narratives, and I'm like past it. So then the last book that I started and didn't finish was The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I engaged with the character really quickly. I'm very interested in the story, and yet I put it down. Because the premise of this is it's a very misogynistic society that the women have to behave, there's a religious element, and if they do all of the right things during their ceremony when they come of age, they basically do a ritual where they prick them to make sure that their blood runs red, and if not, then, you know, something bad ends up happening. And our main character is a gilded one. Her blood does not run red. And so I am gonna read this. I'm not excited about it at the moment, but I know I will probably enjoy it. The one thing that got me is I'm kind of tired of the fantasy backstory or narrative where everybody is opposed or against or hateful to the main character or the main group of people that we're fighting for. And I know this is like a really common plot point, but I'm just kind of tired of reading about hate everywhere. Like, all I can think about is that there's literal people in this world who still think the way that some of these people think. And in these fantasy scenarios, you know, obviously it's pushed to extremes, but like when the fact that people will like turn on their own kids because they're trans or gay or they believe something different or so I raged quit the book because there was just a scene that happened. I didn't get very far into it, but there's a scene that happens that kind of, I guess it's kind of a couple of scenes back to back, but just it's the catalyst of the story. And it was just so upsetting to me. And I think it's a great backstory and will make a great story overall, but I'm just tired. Like, part of me, especially when it comes to POC books, Black books especially, can we not get some books that are situated, like, it's fantasy? Can't we get some books that are far from reality where there's acceptance and love and equality and the problem is unrelated to the harshness and horribleness of the real world? Like, that's kind of what I feel right now. And don't get me wrong, like, I have been compelled to want to tell those stories as well. I think it's very important for us to tell them. And like I said, I am pretty sure that when I'm in the right mindset, I'm going to love this book. Like, it covers a lot of bases. I don't know. I haven't gotten far into it, but I'm assuming it's going to cover a lot of bases that I typically enjoy in a book. But man, it hit me hard and I just couldn't handle it. Anyway, so with the other 3 books that I actually finished reading, I have completed Blackathon. That means I have done all 15 prompts for all 3 of the different tiers or groups. And I also did one of the Instagram posts, which was the recreation, which I showcased in the last video. And then I kind of fell off and I didn't post anything else. I was all like, oh, this month I'm going to be posting so much. And I spent all the time doing the recreation. I felt really good. And I was like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do the next one. And then I didn't. I kind of crashed at that point when I was doing the sci-fi fantasy. I just got really overwhelmed with life stuff and the books were really heavy. I know specifically both of the Tochi Anabuchi books were really hard for me. They were war-based. They were tough. And it was really hard for me to connect with the characters. And I will say this one I think is going to be a little bit tough as well, but in a different way. And fortunately I will be connecting to the characters. Like, I really liked the story and the narration and the writing. So I think I will enjoy this, but I'm just tired right now. I have been instead playing a bunch of Disney Dream Light Valley. I think it's called. That game slaps. If you are playing, let me know, because I've been playing it for only 2 days. I have unlocked a bunch of stuff, gotten really far. Farming is the key. I'm killing it. It's so much fun. Anyway, let's get to the unboxing portion, because I think we have at least 2 new releases from Barnes & Noble, and then I don't know what the 3rd book is. Now, this sounded interesting, but part of me almost didn't want to get it because of the name of the book. Because it's called Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes, and it is the McMaster's Guide to Homicide, and it sounds amusing, okay? I also really like the cover. And it's a signed exclusive Barnes & Noble edition. I don't know too much about this. I kind of read a little bit about it before I pre-ordered it, but yeah, I'm interested in giving this a shot at some point. So that's one of the pre-orders. Then this one, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's, I'm assuming it's a book for this. It could be something else. We might only have 2 books. Ah, that is correct. This is a tabletop role-playing game, but for Highcaster, which is a setting for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, something that I ended up purchasing before the whole, is it OGL? Open Game License debacle that happened recently. Okay, and then the last pre-order book, oh, also TTRPG related, but not. So we have The Adventure Zone, The 11th Hour. This is the next graphic novel in the Adventure Zone graphic novel series, based off of the podcast that was put together by the McElroys. So Griffin, Travis, Clint, and Justin McElroys, the 3 brothers do My Brother, and Me, which admittedly is questionable in the beginning before they grew as people, and they always say not to because I guess they had some trash takes. I never really got into My Brother, and Me, but I'm a big fan of the Adventure Zone podcast. And yeah, so I guess that kind of wraps up our little review. I knew I was going to be too tired to do another vlog, so hopefully this was still enjoyable. Hopefully you liked it. This was a pretty successful month in general. If you participated in Blackathon, or if you read any good books by Black authors for February, let me know what your favorite was down below. I hope you're doing well, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye!